What's good, YouTube? It's your boy SK Reacts back with another reaction, and today reacting to another film theory video. And I'm not gonna lie, I was on YouTube, I seen film theory posted, and not only did they posted about the Magic School Bus. Now I don't know about y'all, but me growing up, that was a big symbol of my childhood. So I need to see what they talking about for this one, you feel me? But with all that being said, if y'all new to my channel, hit that sub button, hit that like button. Let's get to the reaction. All right, y'all, this is film theory, the deadliest Magic School Bus field trip. Let's see what they talk about Magic School Bus for, man. This is my show, bro.
Right, children.
It was a good day in school when this pulled out.
To see the stars.
You mean somewhere like a planetarium or a museum?
Yes,
Please
sir.
let this be a normal field trip.
As if.
Exactly.
You know that's not how the frizz rolls.
Has anyone seen Matt?
We're going
Who's
to
that?
blast
Who's that?
off towards the heavens for science.
Who's that? I don't know who that
Miss
was.
Frizzle?
Blasting off in
Dan.
Miss Frizzle? We're missing Matt!
One blast off.
Who's Dan, bro? Oh. He lost a kid, by the way. I don't know if y'all
Hello,
seen
Internet.
that.
Welcome to Film Theory, where it's time
Yes,
for
sir.
a pop quiz. Question 1. Do you recognize this voice? It's me, head editor Dan. Hi, hello. Matt lost his voice at VidCon, so you got me. Question
Dang.
2. Are you subscribed? Are you? Are you sure?
Hey, hit that sub button on their channel, man. Y'all see
Good.
it. On my
A+
channel, too.
for
Hit that
you,
sub
loyal
button.
theorist. Now, it probably wouldn't come as any surprise to you that I liked me some science class in grade school. Why else would I edit for these
Same.
channels? Fun fact, in the 3rd grade, I was so into science that they let me go to Challenge, which is where we just basically made slime for an hour. Now,
Oh, wow.
I had the foresight to make a YouTube channel. Imagine the amount of money I could have made. But anyway,
Hey,
the day in science class was going to be extra special when the teacher wheeled in that giant
Exactly, that TV.
and popped in a VHS tape packed with some classic good old edutainment.
Magic School Bus.
Yes, thank you. I'm totally aware that I just aged myself by mentioning VHS. I'm an internet boomer and I'm dealing with it. But something nerds of the 90s, aughts, and
What does boomer mean, by the way? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know.
20 teens can all agree on, though, the Magic School Bus was
It was lit. Boy, I love the
Miss
Magic School Bus
Frizzle
with a
was
passion,
the
bro.
embodiment of the perfect teacher, engaging
Facts.
her class with legitimately interesting
Field
topics
trips.
and taking our students on wacky field trips
All
to
the
give
time,
some
bro.
real hands-on learning. Whether it was traveling through time to visit the age of the dinosaurs, or that one
I used to be
time when they
jealous.
traveled inside one of the students' Arnold to study the human body, or when the whole
Ooh.
class got turned into bees.
I missed that one. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't see that one.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes those trips were a bit well, how do I
What's the word?
mildly dangerous and life-threatening.
Hey, yo.
but also theorizable? Oh, definitely.
The kids on
but
the
Matt
side.
insisted that he wasn't going to ruin his own childhood. That lasted a whole day before he came in and said, quote, okay, fine, let's just ruin everything. So
Wow.
we dusted off our VCRs, kicked back on the couch, then creative director Lee pointed out that we can't watch the VCR on the monitor TV, so we just streamed it. And from the first
Bruh.
episode of the Magic School Bus gets lost in space, our theorist sensibilities got the best
Did I
of
see this
us.
one?
In this episode, a mundane trip to the planetarium is scrapped due to Miss Frizzle not calling ahead to see if it was open. She then
Okay.
decides to do the next best thing and
to
kidnaps,
space.
escorts the children to the cosmos. And
Did the
takes
parents
a
sign for
tour
this?
around the solar system. They visit the sun, some of the planets, and the trip culminates with the gang landing on Pluto, which
Oh,
was
wow.
the 9th and final planet when this show aired. And as much as it hurts that this guy got demoted to a dwarf planet,
Heard about Pluto? It's messed up, right?
it was totally justified. There
Bruh.
are 5 confirmed dwarf planets in our system, and if Pluto's a planet, they all are. Ripperonis. Anyway, near the very end
Ripperonis?
of the
What
very
that mean?
first episode, as the
Sound like
class
LeBron.
are exploring the surface of the Gimli-sized Pluto, one of the kids,
sir.
Arnold, has had enough. In a fit of rage, he rips off his space helmet and instantly freezes. I mean, 1 second and boom, he looks
She killed a kid. What the?
like one of those janky
Arnold's a
Sonic the
clone.
Hedgehog ice cream pops you get from an ice cream
Those
truck.
used to hit though. I ain't gonna lie. SpongeBob
I know
ones are
I'm
better
trying
though.
to enjoy this as some fun romp through some Clinton era edutainment, but that can't be possible, right? I know space is cold, but you can't just go from annoying Arnold to X-Men Iceman in an
Hey.
instant, can you? So like the very
Iceman
normal
lit.
human being Matt is, he dove into the scientific realism of this 90s cartoon with a magical Type A school bus. Just a very normal thing to do. Because while
man
looking
died, bro.
into
Can we
the
talk about how he
truth
just
behind the
died?
science here, Matt fell into a rabbit hole bigger than our own solar system. You see,
What?
loyal theorists, Miss Frizzle's antics would have
Whoa.
gotten the whole class killed many times over before they reached the edge of the solar system,
Whoa.
doing not only Arnold, but all of the kids in the classroom
Carlos,
to painful
Keisha.
deaths worse than what we could have imagined.
Not
Like our
Keisha.
friends, this one's
Keisha, no.
ride. So to explain, I guess we should start with the final scene and move backwards from there.
They
As I
ended
just
there after he
explained,
died?
After ripping off his helmet, Arnold transforms into Frosty the Snowman pretty much instantly. So
Okay.
would that really happen? Well, at first glance, it's not as ridiculous as you might think.
I think it would.
Deep space is cold, like stupid cold. According to NASA, the surface temperature of Pluto reaches a frostbite-inducing -400
Hey,
degrees Fahrenheit.
-4 is
That's
crazy.
-240 degrees Celsius. Just to give you a comparison, here, the
Celsius.
coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth was in Antarctica at -89.2 degrees Celsius, or -128.6
Bro,
Fahrenheit. So when
-89
Arnold
is
takes off his
insane,
helmet,
bro.
he's a
That's
goner,
insane.
right? Well, not necessarily.
Don't even talk to me that day.
It wasn't for
But
Understand
negative
why
89,
we
that's
need
that's
to
the type of
discuss
cold that
what
you
temperature
just you
is
get
at
mad
an
just because it's
atomic
cold.
level. When we talk about the temperature of something, whether
mean-
it's the frigid vacuum of space or that
Yep.
scalding cup of coffee you spilt in your lap, what we are actually talking about
Hopefully
is
not
how
y'all.
much the molecules in said empty space or boiling
Speed up.
seed soup are bouncing into each other. When
Yeah,
two
I know about that.
molecules collide, they release a small
in
amount
chemistry,
of
biology.
energy in the form of heat. The more collisions, the more heat is released, and the higher the temperature of something is. When
Yeah.
something hot makes contact with something cold, like say, I don't know, the face of a red-headed fourth grader being exposed to the
Hey,
liquid void
yeah.
of space, that energy transfers from the hot thing to the cold thing until it evens out. Fun
True,
fact,
true.
there is a limit to how cold something can be. This is known as
Absolute
absolute
zero.
zero, which is the point where the molecules don't move at all and thus don't release any heat. And
Wow.
when you look at that number, which is -273.15 Celsius or
459.
-459.67
Sheesh,
Fahrenheit,
some
or
crazy
0
numbers,
Kelvin
bro.
For you nerds out there, it's pretty close to that surface temperature of Pluto. However, despite the nearly 500-degree difference between the average human temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, or
Celsius.
98.6 Fahrenheit,
I don't know
it's not
Celsius,
like
bro.
all of Arnold's heat is going to rush out at once. It would take somewhere between 12 to 26 hours for a human to freeze solid out in space. And given
I
that
call
we-
cap. That's cap. If y'all watched Guardians of the Galaxy, it wasn't in an instant, but Star-Lord froze pretty quickly, is all I'm gonna say.
Arnold's head is directly exposed, that would likely take much longer. And thankfully, the kids think quickly and get Arnold back on the school bus in a matter of seconds.
What did the teacher
So
do?
while it wouldn't be comfortable, Arnold wouldn't be becoming an ice sculpture as quickly as we see in the cartoon. And speaking
Okay,
of,
but what did
where
the teacher
is
do?
the world's best teacher?
I'm about to say, where she was
She's
at?
standing by as her students are being the responsible ones in saving their friend. Her principal
Why?
is probably going to have a word with her when they get
Wait,
back.
there's a principal in the
Now,
show?
while Arnold might survive his brief encounter with the chill of
What?
Pluto, this little maneuver still would have killed him, just not for the reasons you might expect. As soon as Arnold takes
Okay.
off the helmet, the pressure of the oxygen inside his lungs would be released
Oh
into
my.
space like a shaken up can of Diet Coke. We briefly touched
Diet.
on this in our episode about Portal
We don't
2's
drink that
brief
diet
pit
stuff
stop on the
around here.
moon over on our sister location, Game Theory. But it's worth reiterating here. A Dan Cyber
Portal.
survival tip.
That game
If
was
you're ever
lit.
stupid enough to remove your helmet off in space, don't hold your breath. Why? Because as I just said, in a vacuum, all the oxygen in your lungs immediately wants to expand and rush out into the
So you
void.
go,
And if you hold your breath, then there's nowhere for that oxygen to go except tearing
So
through
you
your
gotta
lungs.
exhale really hard.
You, but if my choices are gasping for air or ruptured lungs, I'm gonna pick the option that doesn't cause one of my major organs to, literally
facts.
explode. It doesn't
I
look like
understand.
Arnold makes a point to empty his lungs in this scene, so while the cold might not have killed him, the ruptured lungs might have. Just might have. But even
Bruh.
if he did breathe out before taking off his helmet, the whole no oxygen thing is obviously going to be bad news for Arnold. Without oxygen flowing through your
True.
bloodstream, your
It's a
organs,
lose-lose.
and especially your brain, would begin to shut down after about 3 minutes. But that's
That's
3
lucky
whole
a long
minutes to
time.
get somewhere where you
Yeah, but that's
can
a long
breathe
time.
again. The quick thinking from the other
3
kids
minutes is a long
likely
time.
did save Arnold's life here, making most of this memorable scene something entirely survivable. But,
True.
well, as I alluded at the top of this episode, Arnold and the rest of the class wouldn't have ever made it to Pluto. Just before the gang reaches Pluto,
Do you know
they
about the
take a
bus?
jaunt around
You
the
sleep?
outermost planets in the solar system, known collectively as the gas giants. They pass by this planet, I'll let you
Okay.
decide if you want to giggle at Uranus or Uranus, as well as Neptune, and observe the rings of Saturn without much fanfare. Also worth noting that the children are driving the bus
Wow.
at this point
What is
because
it?
Miss Frizzle has gone MIA and
I
has
didn't remember
turned
that part.
finding her within the depths of space into a game.
The outer planet I'm on is very cold.
She let the student drive the bus, yo.
You get, the warmer you'll
That's a
be
W
to find
teacher.
me.
Oh, great. Now it's It's a riddle.
Yeah, you know, the more I talk about this, the more I'm like, Miss Frizzle was really irresponsible, wasn't she?
She's the one that have fun.
Lost in
She ain't feel like working.
space. We're lost in space without a teacher.
Mm-mm-mm.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
I mean, y'all found her.
It would take more than a trip to the guidance counselor's office to work through this trauma. Anyway, the gas giant
You had to
we
find her,
actually
though, so-
spend time at is Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system. And what do? They fly right into the Great Red Spot. Now, if
What's
you've
that wrong with
seen
that?
a picture of Jupiter, you probably recognize this thing.
Yup,
It's one
yup,
of the
yup.
planet's most iconic features. But what you might not know, that it's not just a cool aesthetic feature or a beauty mark. It's
a
a
massive
massive
hurricane.
hurricane-like storm that's been raging
Sheesh.
since at least the 1830s. And what's more,
A
as of
storm-
April 3rd,
I mean, hurricane
2017, the
lasted
storm is
200
approximately
years.
16,350 kilometers.
Miles, oh my gosh.
1,160 miles, meaning that Jupiter's Great Red Spot is wider than the entire Earth.
That's crazy,
And
I'm not gonna lie.
size isn't the only frightening factor
Oh,
the
nah.
storm has going for it. Its
Not the
speed
googly
is
eyes.
also
Sonic.
insane. The fastest wind speed ever recorded on Earth was a blistering 231 miles per hour.
Oh my
or about
gosh.
372 kilometers per
and
hour.
knew what?
Recorded on Mount Washington in New Hampshire in 1934. The wind speeds in the
Dang.
Great Red Spot can
That's
reach
mad
upwards to
fast.
400 miles per hour, or about 644 kilometers per hour. Just
my.
under double the speeds on Earth.
Breaded eyes.
Now, flying into the dense atmosphere of Jupiter with speeds that fast would easily tear a
Not that
typical
bus.
school
You
to
sleep on that
shreds. So
bus.
this is a magic.
Exactly, it's a
school
magic.
bus
You feel the
after all,
magic
so
part.
I'll leave that be. But magic wouldn't protect the kids from letting the storm
Yes, it would.
into the bus. In order to collect
Yes, it would,
proof
bro.
of their visit, the kids
He sleep
opened
on the
a
bus.
spigot that allows the gases of the red spot to pour into the bus. Now, with those 400 miles per hour speeds, this would be like opening a window on the fastest train.
Bullet
but
train.
That is nothing compared to the sheer weight of the atmosphere that would begin pouring into the bus at that
at the bus,
incredible
bruh.
speed. Remember earlier when we talked about all of the air wanting to get out of Arnold's
Yeah,
lungs in the
yeah,
vacuum
yeah.
on Pluto? That happens because of air pressure. Basically how much the air inside of something pushes up against the walls of its container. Since there
And?
isn't a ton of gas in Pluto's atmosphere, the air pressure would be higher in Arnold's lungs than on Pluto. But on Jupiter, you have the opposite problem. The air pressure on the quote-unquote surface of Jupiter is roughly 5 to 10 times that
It's like
of Earth.
Goku
Or
trained in
say
that
the
same type of
interior
environment,
of
bro.
a
It's
magic
nothing.
school
It's
bus
nothing.
meant to keep Earthlings comfortable. Long and short of it is, Jovian gas wouldn't just trickle in with the spigot. It would instantly flood the interior of the bus.
Bro,
and
you
that
don't
could cause some
understand.
serious complications depending
You don't
on what it's
understand a
made of.
bus.
Despite decades of
magic.
study, scientists aren't 100% sure what the big red spot is made of. Some theories suggest it's ammonia reacting to acetylene, both of which would burn
See,
the inside
too
of
much
your
chemistry,
lungs
bro.
and throw it on
Not in
contact.
school,
Others
summertime.
suggest that the red spot, like the rest of Jupiter, is composed of hydrogen and helium. Either way, this would be awful news for the children, who would likely be thrown around
Why the
by
bus
the
keep doing that,
400
bro?
miles per hour wind, spewing toxic or unbreathable gases into the bus's cabin. And frighteningly, this
Oh,
would likely be
not the
the
X.
least
I mean, that's-
painful cause
that's
of death
called.
for these kids on this field trip from hell. Before suffocating on Jupiter, the class dodges some asteroids in the asteroid belt and makes a quick pit stop to Mars. Now, without
Hey.
a magnetic field and a painfully thin atmosphere, a prolonged stay on the Martian surface could be
Dangerous
dangerous
radiation.
due to radiation exposure. But that's
Yikes.
nothing compared to the dangers of the
Look
class
at Venus.
landing on Venus.
It's hot.
Let's
Oh, it's
just
mad
say
hot.
things wouldn't be looking so hot for Miss Frizzle's
Yeah, it's mad hot over
class
there.
after this. Actually, scratch that. Things would be looking very
Yeah.
hot. See, despite
Oh,
being
my.
further from the sun than Mercury, Venus is actually the hottest planet in
I
the
did not know
solar
that.
system, with its average surface temperatures racing 850
50
degrees Fahrenheit.
that's
or
hotter than my oven, bro.
454 degrees Celsius.
That's hotter than my oven,
10
dog.
times hotter than a painfully warm 85-degree day here on Earth. Why is it like this? Well, 96.5% of the Venetian atmosphere is made of carbon dioxide.
Venetian?
If you know
What
anything
that mean?
about CO2 here on Earth, you'll know that it's a greenhouse gas. That
True.
means it likes to absorb the heat coming from the sun. Earth's atmosphere is approximately 0.04% carbon dioxide, so that 96.5% figure,
Okay.
that's
That put it in
insane.
perspective. It was a
is
little crazy.
basically
Not
turned
gonna lie.
Venus's atmosphere into a giant blanket that's holding in all of the heat it absorbs over a few million or billion years.
Lord.
It's so hot that even
Billion.
metals like lead start to melt at those temperatures. The
Immediately or
longest
like
a
it
space
take a
probe
minute?
has ever landed on the surface of Venus is just over 2 hours. If something the smartest scientists on the planet literally built and designed to work on Venus
like Doctor
couldn't even
Strange.
outlast the runtime of an Avatar movie, this would mean that Miss Frizzle's class class
bruh.
would be dismissed pretty much the moment they step
Avatar
out
was
onto
low-key
the
long, don't say
surface.
that.
And even if they somehow survived this hellscape of heat, they'd rather be dead the next time it
Why?
rains, because what are those clouds made of?
Oh, acid rain?
Sulfuric acid.
Oh my.
Acid?
Mm-hmm. It's a
Yeah,
deadly poison.
Speaking of utterly painful death,
What are you doing, kids
what a
there?
Transition. You pretty much encounter all of the
Why are
same
you taking
issues
kids
on
there?
the bright side of Mercury, which can reach temperatures of roughly 800 degrees
It's just as hot.
Fahrenheit or 427 degrees
Oh my.
Celsius. But that would be nothing compared to what
Don't point at me,
comes
bro. It's
next,
disrespectful. Don't
since
point at me.
Miss Frizzle decides to start this field trip of death and destruction by visiting the sun. You know how you're told constantly to not look at the sun without some serious eye protection? That's
Facts.
because even here on Earth, 92 million miles
Who
away
got a
from
ruler
the
and measured
sun,
that?
and with a thick atmosphere protecting us from the worst of it, the star our planet orbits outputs so much light
That's
and
crazy.
energy that it can permanently
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I be thinking like, bro, we really on Earth and like we're still alive because a star that's just as far he just said away is so hot that it's keeping us warm. That's not crazy to y'all. Like, bro, what? Like, sometimes you gotta think about life. Like, life is really, it's life.
damage your
Yeah, probably,
retinas
what are you
in
talking
under
about?
2
I don't know,
minutes.
bro.
Now, imagine driving directly up to the sun, getting closer than any man-made object. To be fair to Miss Frizzle,
Eddie
she
glasses.
does realize
See?
this and has the class wear.
She prepared.
Special heavy-duty
prepared, bro.
sunblock 8,000 sun goggles.
But
Exactly.
your eyes aren't what you should be worrying about here.
It's
It's
your
a
skin?
bit difficult to tell exactly how close the class gets, but we do see the bus flying close to a plume of plasma that blasts off the solar surface. These are known as coronal mass ejections,
Oh,
which can
whoa,
sometimes stretch
pause?
as far as a million miles away from the
Pause?
sun's surface, which means that at best, the bus just traveled within
Pause.
a million miles of our local star. That might sound like it's far, but in terms of astronomical distances, it isn't. The sun is big, loyal
Ejection.
theorists. I'm sure
Pause.
you knew that. And getting that close would be devastating. The Parker Solar Probe, which is on its way to the sun right now, will be the closest man-made
Oh, wow.
object ever to go near the sun. It was specifically designed to get close to our star, but at its closest,
4 million
it will
miles.
still
Okay,
be
okay.
about 4 million
I need to know how that
miles
go.
away. At about 3 million
Let me know
miles
how that
away,
go,
the
man.
temperatures of just being near the sun will already be enough to cause those NASA spacesuits to fail. Basically, if you were really going to get close to the sun, it would look less like a fun edutainment cartoon and more like the sci-fi horror
Ooh.
movie Sunshine.
Oh,
So
wow.
every step
I ain't
of
see that
the
one. Look
way,
like he got burned
every
alive.
planet these kids stopped on would have been a death trap for them. Except the one that created such a terrifyingly memorable
The moon?
moment, ironically enough. But here's the thing, loyal theorists. It's not just the planets that would have hurt these kids.
It's the
Miss
teacher.
Frizzle doomed these children
Exactly.
to a long, agonizing, painful
Oh, no,
death
the snap.
before they even set foot on another planetary body or flew too close to the sun. And it all comes
buzz-
down to one thing: radiation. See, there's a lot of radiation in space, and I mean a lot. But there are
I did not know
special
that.
kinds that you should be extra concerned with if you ever find yourself in space. The first is solar radiation. While we're on Earth,
Or they
we
get
don't have
powers.
to worry about this stuff. As I mentioned earlier when we briefly talked about Mars, an atmosphere or electromagnetic field protects us from
Okay,
most
Earth.
of this stuff. And even
Earth
the
got,
things that
then-
get through the ultraviolet light
If
can
you
be
know, you know.
negated by slathering on a layer of sunscreen. But in space, there's nothing to block the dangerous solar particle events, galactic cosmic rays,
Sheesh.
ionizing radiation like X-rays or
Oh,
gamma
nah.
rays that the sun emits. And no, I don't mean the sort of gamma radiation that turns you into the Fantastic Four
Do you
or
know
the
that?
Incredible Hulk. The
you
stuff
know that for a
is
fact?
much less cool, damaging your DNA in ways that give you cancer instead of superpowers. NASA specifically
Okay.
builds their spaceships, space
Let me not hit
stations,
that
and
risk.
space suits to shield the astronauts from this sort of radiation. That's partially why the suits are so bulky and why they have those cool golden visors. Both details that the Magic School Bus spacesuits don't have. And as a result, these particles would be cutting through kids like a radioactive
Hey,
knife
yo.
through children-shaped butter, likely making
Oh,
the
my.
kids very, very sick just by exiting Earth's atmosphere. In
Wow,
the
always
end,
Arnold getting messed
every
up.
decision Miss Frizzle made along this field trip, from allowing the kids to collect Jovian gas, to stopping by on the surface of Venus and Mercury, to flying by the sun, and even just exiting the Earth's atmosphere without the proper precautions, would have led to the deaths of these children
Dang,
multiple times
Arnold, Phoebe,
over.
Dorothy,
She exposed
Carlos.
them to lethal doses of radiation,
The
subjecting
buzz,
them
bro.
to
You
inhumane
don't understand, man.
temperatures,
You don't
and
understand,
left them
guys.
to get crushed and suffocated
You don't
in a
understand.
hurricane literally bigger than Earth. While I love learning and passing on knowledge,
Exactly,
doing so
bro.
in this way was irresponsible. These kids should have been scared far sooner than when Arnold took off his helmet.
No, they're
The
good,
one
bro,
thing in this
trust.
trip that ironically they would have survived with minimal injuries. All in all, Miss Frizzle gets an F for fired. And yet, despite all of this information Matt is having me read, I would want nothing more than to go on this field trip. I want to go to space.
I like the pass.
That's
Oh.
just a theory. A film theory.
Yes, sir.
And cut.
Shout out to
Man,
Film
this
Day, man.
program could so-
Hey, look. There's a few things we could take away from this video. One, we all understand. Miss Frizzle is a horrible teacher. She should be fired. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, I think the pros outweigh the cons. How many kids can say they went to space, Mars? No one can. You know what I'm saying? You put that on a resume, you good for life. You feel me? Also, did they die though? You know what I'm saying? Arnold may have got messed up, but he's still good now. He kept it pushing. You feel me? I know she didn't ask the parents for permission, none of that. But who cares about that stuff? You know what I'm saying? She still got it done. And also, Miss Frizzle helped me keep me entertained for a lot of years in school. So she cool with me. You know what I'm saying? So I think the pros outweigh the cons. So y'all let me know how you feel in the comments down below. Shout out to Film Theory. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro. But also it's kind of crazy. Sometimes you gotta think about, like, we really on Earth right now. Like, Earth is really a thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? No? Okay. It's your boy TK Reaction. That's my channel. That sub button, hit that like button. Any reactions y'all want to see, let me know in the comments down below. Get to as soon as possible. And we out of here.